wonderful woman, thank you for watching this video. A video in which I will be talking about boundaries. And in my personal life, setting boundaries in a very clear and feminine way was a huge transformational journey, and it has helped me to really feel what's inside of me rather than being out in the world and trying to save everybody around me. So first of all, my name is Marjolein. For those of you who don't know me, I am a soul searcher and I'm a sacred womb awakening practitioner and also the founders of Bliss Finders. And I would like to take you on a very brief journey and explain you a little bit about boundaries and what energetic boundaries are and some signs that your boundaries may not be up the way you would really like it to be. So when we talk about boundaries, the first thing that often comes to mind is saying no to certain situations. And the first signs that the boundaries are not very clear is when we experience that, for example, we find it really hard to say no to a certain situation. We find it really hard, for example, to say no to our children, to say no to our partner or friends or relatives, our colleagues, and we struggle with that clear no. It can also be that when we do say no, it's not being felt, and this is an energetic boundary, because although you are expressing a no, something in your system says yes. And so it is really important to also really set the boundary from a very clear and sovereign way, so you really feel it inside of your body as well. So it's not only in the mind, but you can really feel it in your heart and in your womb. And from that perspective and from that sacred temple, you can firmly say no and set your boundaries. So when we experience that the boundary is difficult to set, or we don't have any, it is very likely that we have experienced and we are running certain relationship patterns. So for example, when we are in our full energy and we are really embodied, we can look at ourselves as if our body and our energy field is like a sacred temple. Okay? And in that sacred temple, you really feel what is present inside of you. Now, when we have experienced any kind of trauma or we have received imprints, it means that parts of our energy just starts to go missing. And that can be from the heart, that can be from the womb, that can be from any organ in the body, it can be from your energy field. And when we shatter, and when that energy just leaves our body, it means that there are holes. And these holes can be filled by other people's energy. And this leads me to the first profound relationship pattern, is that we have received imprints from the other person who is with us. This could be a partner, a colleague, a child, a family member, or whoever is quite close to you. And we are receiving imprints from this person. And especially when we look at the womb, let's focus on that womb first. But if there's holes in it that can be filled, it can happen that we start to draw in and start to receive these imprints from that person who is with us. And the more imprints we receive, the less we actually feel what is present in us. So what we would like to do is to take these imprints out. We would like to release them and fill them up with our own energy and restore that sacred temple that we are in. It can also be that because you have no sense of you and you have no sense of your boundaries or what you are, is that you have the feeling that you're leaking away a lot of energy. And especially as women, we are being taught that we women should be in service, we should be the caretakers, we should be helping other people. And in that, when you are in that leaky energy and you're leaking out your energy, it means that you become more and more and more empty of yourself. And when you're empty, you don't feel the energy that is in your sacred temple. You don't feel what it is that it is what you need, because you're constantly out. And this is a pattern that we often run as a mother, for example, or as a caretaker of, or as a healer, or as a therapist, or as a psychotherapist, because we have the feeling that we need to give everything away in order to feel ourselves. And the opposite actually happens, because we leak the energy out, emptiness comes in, and we have not been taught how to fill ourselves up. It can also be that you run various codependent relationships. So you're feeding yourself off somebody else, and somebody else feeds themselves off you. And this keeps you in a dynamic that you think you feel yourself, but you actually feel the other person. And this makes it really difficult when we have codependent bonds with different people. And there's going to be a different video specifically about the codependent bonds. But in really short is that we start to draw energy from other people, and we don't fill ourselves up with our own energy, and this will drain ourselves and the other person ultimately. So when we are going to work with our boundaries, it's really about calling back parts of us that have gone missing, which in shamanic terms is called soul retrieval. And when we call back our energies and parts of us, we restore that beautiful vessel, we restore that beautiful sacred temple of ourselves. And we are clearing out these imprints that we have received. We can clear out the energies of other people, so we can start to become more aware of who we are and what we want. And this is what boundaries are about from my perspectives. There can be hundreds of perspectives, but I'm just sharing you my perspective. So basically, boundaries is about filling yourself with your own energy and restoring that beautiful temple that is you. And one of the ways that we start to work with the boundaries is to work with the relationship patterns. So the imprints, the codependency, the leaking out, and the calling back of that beautiful energy and the parts of you that are really you. So when your boundaries are poor, as I said before, it can be that you find it really hard to say no to people. It may be that you are saying no to people, but they are simply not listening. It may be that you feel a lot of anger around it because you're not being heard. So there's this feeling of, yes, but I'm setting my boundaries and nobody's listening. Yes, that's because you are still in some way shining out those imprints from the other people, or being empty from yourself, which makes it really difficult to support the words that you are actually saying. When we look at the relationship patterns, it can be that you keep attracting, for example, the same kind of relationships. So the same kind of dominant man in your life, or the same kind of soft men that are not strong in their power. It may be that you feel a lot of shame about how you raise your child, and your child is off the charts. So there's various ways of how the womb energy can be infected by other people's energy, or you're leaking too much out. And you're feeling drained, you're feeling absolutely exhausted after a day of work. You feel, for example, exhausted when you're spending time with your family at home. You are constantly having your senses out into the world and being aware of what is there in other people, and start to focus on there, and that leaves you empty and drained. So working with the boundaries is profound work, and it involves a lot of soul retrieval work. So we are really calling back our soul parts, and we are trying to restore and start to embody a new us. And as you may see, there may be a lot of people that you work with. So it can be that one person may come up, and then the other one, and the other one, and the other one. So it's like a continuous work to be doing. So this is what I would really like to share with you today about the importance of setting boundaries. And to be clear, is basically we have to start clearing ourselves from energies that are not ours, and we have to start calling back soul parts. If you would like to know about how to work with boundaries, if you feel this resonates with you deeply, if you feel you have more questions about this, I'm really encouraging you to contact me and to send me a message at marjolein@blissfinders.com. And yeah, I would like to share with you the options that you may have to work with this. Blessings to you, and thank you for listening.